I'm very happy to see you all here, to stay until now. Now that you have spent 3 full days, for most of you, I guess, at the Institut Henri Poincaré, it's time to tell you a little bit about the Maison Poincaré. But before that, since I suppose that some people are still upstairs and a little bit late because they didn't listen to Andreas, I offer you to watch the world premiere of a short film about the Institut Henri Poincaré. Okay. So, yes. So you can be acquainted with my accent.
It's also just like the house of mathematicians.
Where you feel at home.
C'est un lieu de rassemblement de mathématiciens.
I think it's really important to have a place where we know we can go.
An atmosphere of creativity, an atmosphere of community.
The Institut Henri Poincaré, or IHP in short, is an almost century-old center for international scientific exchange in mathematics and theoretical physics.
It's close to prestigious schools or institutions like École Normale Supérieure or Collège de France, and it belongs to both Sorbonne University and CNRS, Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique.
C'est au centre de Paris. L'IHP, c'est un endroit, tous les chemins mènent à l'IHP. Pour moi, c'est aussi grâce à ça que c'est un peu un cœur battant des mathématiques.
IHP welcomes mathematicians and theoretical physicists in various types of programs. The main ones are thematic programs, which can last between 3 and 12 weeks.
Programs are very, very useful. It's a time where you know you're going to be concentrating on some topic with people coming from very different horizons, geographically, or even sometimes in the math they're doing or the physics they're doing.
It's been really fantastic to have such a great group of all different generations that are here for some extended period of time that you can see on a daily basis and interact with.
You never know who you're going to meet here. Just this week, I've met people from Brazil, from India, from the United States.
I hope and I expect that everyone will leave the program, leave the trimester with some new interaction, some new question, topic, idea.
They receive us here with the facilities, and then you can work on the blackboards when you just want to work with your collaborators here in Paris and they're coming from somewhere else, and then you come here and sometimes you meet other people and nobody knows where it will take us.
I thought was very special about the IHP is the auditorium, where there are these giant blackboards that motorized.
L'amphithéâtre Hermite, c'est un lieu que je trouve très inspirant, qui donne envie de s'asseoir et de faire des maths. Pour moi, c'est un peu comme les églises. Quand on est dans une église, même si on n'est pas croyant, on réalise très vite que c'est un lieu exceptionnel.
The atmosphere is different from every other place because there is something related to the history of this building that makes that you are in a kind of tradition of mathematics and theoretical physics.
You feel this energy of everyone working around you, and that's really a huge booster to work. And then you open yourself to good surprises, random chats, and start new projects.
For me, collaborations are the most important thing in mathematics. I like to work alone, of course, at my desk, but talking to people and discussing ideas, making mistakes together and trying to move forward with people is the best thing, I think, in this research.
After all, we are trying to improve the mathematical knowledge for humanity, so it's something which is collective.
Scientific exchange needs physical interaction. But at the same time, we know that too much traveling contributes to climate change.
So we have decided to at least monitor the carbon footprint of our programs. We are going to ask the participants to stay longer if they can, especially when they fly from overseas. And we are going to expand to a new building. This building will include some new spaces for all activities, in particular research, but also it will include a math museum to communicate mathematics to the general public, in particular young generations.
IHP has always cared about presenting mathematics to the public. I mean, it really is something very special, and I think the more the public gets to see that, the more they will appreciate what it is mathematicians do.
From anywhere can come the next mathematician is a very important initiative to communicate to society.
What I would like to see in the future is a very lively institute with a great diversity of visitors and guests.
It's really nice to have a center like IHP which builds this kind of community of mathematicians.
The Institute is and should remain a welcoming home for researchers and the general public. Okay, so you've seen this, as I said, world premiere of this short movie. And now I have the responsibility to talk a little bit about the Maison Poincaré. So first of all, about the words. So Maison, I suppose that you have heard already this word. In French, it means both house and home. And we have preferred this to museum, this word to museum. And the logo that you can see here is, if some of you may have guessed, is kind of a pun in French on the word Poincaré, because point is dot and carré is a square. And incidentally, this way of abbreviating Poincaré has been used by the Poincaré family, the descendants of Henri Poincaré himself. I've met one of them, and they are using a similar drawing for this. And the other thing is that it's also reminiscent of a sculpture which is called Rulpidon. You saw this name earlier on in Cyriel's slides. It's going to be the symbol of the Maison Poincaré. It's a sculpture which can look as a square or as a dot or a circle, depending on the angle where you look at it. So what I would like to say first is that somehow 5 years ago, I was applying to the director position here. I was really aware of this big extension project to the opposite building. I was excited by the challenge, but I was also quite impressed by the idea of having to build from scratch a math museum. And in the meanwhile, many things happened, in particular a pandemic, unfortunately. And also, you have seen this cover, this book cover in Anna and Erin's talk, what was it, yesterday. So we wrote with Marion Liévik, who was the project manager of this extension project. We wrote a paper telling about the Maison Poincaré and how we built it. And if you want, if you're interested, we have an extended version of this paper available on demand. Also, in the meanwhile, something else happened. So I want to show you, okay, sorry, I forgot to mention. So there was Marion Liévik, the project manager. There is the museum, the scenographer, Rémi Dumas, and also a professional from museum design, and also dozens of volunteers who come from academia, from the teaching community, and also the science communication community. And in particular, I would just like to mention Olivier, maybe he has left, he told me. Olivier Drouet was the chair of our scientific advisory board for outreach, or whatever you call it. And the next one is Clotilde Fermagnan, who was around yesterday at least. So they both played also an very important role together with all the people we involved in building this project. Now, I want to show you these two pictures, which are early visuals of the project. So I think you are maybe the most gender-balanced audience I've ever talked to. So I guess you are going to see what is wrong in these pictures. So one of them is a drawing of the conference room that will be in the new building, and the other one is a visual for the entrance hall of the new building. And what I don't know what you see, but you want to say?
Where are the women?
Yes, that is the question. Where are the women? Nowhere. Here, it's only men. So what I wanted to say and emphasize here is that in the meanwhile, during these 5 years, I became much more feminist than I was when the whole thing started. And I even ended up writing a paper in a book which appeared in this June, which is a guide for feminist museums. We had the opportunity to write a paper with the museographer, Céline Nadal, to explain how we design the permanent exhibition to be as inclusive as possible. So we paid attention to gender gap, but also to diversity, and also to people with disabilities, which was not really the point at the beginning. So we did our best to have it accessible to visually impaired people and also to people with hearing problems. I don't claim it will be perfect because it cannot be. It's difficult to have all the devices and all the things accessible, but we did our best. So this kind of project, of course, cannot be performed without strong support. So it was mentioned by Cyrielle, I think, the construction work, the refurbishment work of the building is strongly supported by public institutions. So Sorbonne University, to which this building and the other one belongs, basically, and allowed this to happen. The CNRS, which puts some money in the project. Also public money from the Laboratory of Excellence, which is called Carmin. The French government, the region here, Île-de-France, it's called, and also the city of Paris, which contributed a lot to the project, plus other things. And I also mentioned here, there is the logo. Maybe it's not really visible with these colors, but it's supposed to be the logo of the IHP Endowment Fund. So it's also very important, as Cyrielle said. And if you want to have more information, you have the website brand new website of IHP, and also a specific one for Maison Poincaré, which will merge with the one. And there is also the picture of someone that you must all know by now, who is Élodie Chéroux, who joined IHP last January as the manager of... So she's the manager of Maison Poincaré and the main organizer of this conference. She's doing a tremendous job. So I would like to, indeed, okay, it's already done. We can warm you. And I would like also to warmly thank all the people from the IHP staff who did a tremendous job also to have this conference. So I clap again. So it's really a great pleasure to work with all these people. So let me show you a little bit more about Maison Poincaré now. So it's in the opposite building, which was built by the French physicist Jean Perrin, Nobel Prize winner in 1926. So you can see the work, you can see the door, which is most often open. And so there are several stories in this building. The basement and the ground floor will be dedicated to Maison Poincaré. Then the first floor, it's for the IHP staff and foundations and associations which work with IHP. And in the upper stories, there will be more space for research activities, social events also, and seminars of all sorts. Plus the astronomy tower upstairs, and maybe I can mention this on the next slide. So here are some maps. I don't know if you can read them properly, but so on the ground floor there is the permanent exhibition. There's going to be the permanent exhibition with some terrace also and garden. And on the basement there will be a temporary room for temporary exhibitions and a room for workshops with high school students, basically. And there will be also a curiosity in the basement, which is the former shaft that was going to underground laboratory, experiment laboratory away from cosmic waves, or I don't know, whatever. So, okay, we cannot go into it because it would be too dangerous. And there is still a little bit maybe of things that you don't want to meet on there, but it will be closed, but you can see it and learn a little bit about the story of this shaft. So now I want to give you some details, a few details about the permanent exhibition. So first, before going further, so the entrance hall, there will be a front desk, of course, a small shop and a small cafe for people to meet. Both the garden and the cafe and the shop will be accessible to everyone who comes to this building, the general public, but also the researchers who work in the upper stories. And this is, if you want to get acquainted a little bit with this map, it's a little T-shaped building, basically. And so the permanent exhibition is in two branches of this T. And the permanent exhibition has been designed, I don't remember if I already mentioned that. It was, yes, I did it, I said it. It was designed collectively with many people involved. And we decided, and it's in fact the museographer, Céline Nadal, who had this idea of having a verb, an action verb for each space, specific space in this permanent exhibition. These verbs refer both to important activities in occupational mathematics, researchers in particular, but also to skills that must be acquired by students, in particular middle schoolers and high school students when learning mathematics. So there are, in fact, 6 of them, plus the breathing verb, which has to do with the garden. And so there are numbers here which have no meaning, but no specific meaning, because the visitor experience has been thought of as a wandering which can be made in whatever sense you want. Of course, it will be much more interesting with an animator, and for the high school students it will be mandatory, but the public can also visit by themselves. And this is a very important thing, that humans are really at the core of this project. So there will be animators, a pool of animators, hopefully enough of them. And also I will mention one specific space in which we really speak about people. So I'm going to just browse these verbs and say you a few words about the spaces. I can try to answer questions, but it's late, so maybe I'm going to be quick on each space. So first of all, I basically said what was about entrance halls. So the researchers and the general public will cross each other there. There is a little surprise. There will be a little surprise in the hall, which can be seen in the middle picture, just at the rear. And I've put here the picture of the artist, who is called Pierre. He's the French specialist and maybe a world specialist, I don't know, of optical theaters. And he has designed an optical theater to showcase our symbol, the Rulpidon. So it will be in this optical theater just on the left when you enter the building. Now, about the other spaces, so there is one which is called, with the verb connecting. So it's a modern layout here. You have a great map, which is like a metro map of mathematics, which we have been, okay, there are already some existing maps of mathematics, but we were inspired by them, but we designed a specific one, in particular with Antoine Chamberlois from University of Paris. And so we have some neighborhoods which are called, I don't have all of them in mind, but it's like structures, forms, something like this. And there are some stations on this metro map which represent some domains. Some of them are very well known, some of them are maybe more exotic, but it's also to surprise, to make the people ask questions about this. And the animators can make some connections, some further connections, in particular with objects which are around the map from the daily life. For instance, okay, I'm looking for the words in English, but there is a, okay, there is a, a wheel, okay, a wheel, how's it called? A torus which is not mathematics. How do you call it for when you want to swim? I forgot the name. Okay. Yeah, lifesaver. Yes, thank you. Okay, several objects like this, which can enable the animator to talk about mathematics. And in the middle, there will be some hands-on for several notions that are on this map. Another space is more of a heritage atmosphere. It's the former office of Jean Perrin. And in here, we will speak about people, but basically, okay, of course, Jean Perrin, because it's his office, but also a woman physicist called Yvette Cauchois, who was the director of the lab for decades also. And she made also some good contributions. So we thought it was very important to put them on a balanced way. And also a series of portraits of living mathematicians, as many women as men. And this is made, of course, on purpose to give an impression of gender balance, even though the community is not gender balanced. And there will also be some movies, one woman, one man. Another heritage room is the tea room, the former tea room, which will also serve to have some tea room sessions with the public and researchers. Here, the verb is sharing, so there will be a big map, interactive map about the history of math in the world, and some visuals so the people can choose the time and the region. And here we have done our best, to find some balance between the different regions in the world. Of course, it's not easy because we don't have the same data about the history of mathematics in each part of the world, but we did our best on this. And there will be several other exhibits. There will be also a part of the collection of mathematical objects of the Institut, which is a century old. And for the moment, you have, if you want to, maybe it will be closed when, if I'm quick enough, you can go to the library. There are about 100 of them showcased in the library, and some of them will go to this tea room. We'll have also some other devices and also a panel about knots. So there will be some objects which are surfaces and objects which are knots. So to have 1D and 2D objects. And the final heritage room is the lecture hall. So here there will be also several panels, videos, and things to listen to. It's about discovering. So there is always this debate about discovering or inventing. In French, we say it's written in French, the huge panel here. So we say inventer. We discuss with the translator because everything will be translated to English. And yes, I forgot to mention, you had a glimpse of this in Adrien's talk, but the wording was a little bit different. Here I mentioned the wording that has been chosen with the translator. So we discussed, and finally, inventer has been translated as discovery. So you can just think of it if you want. And there will be several things about the collective nature of discovering or inventing in mathematics. There will be something about Poincaré, about the prices, about discovering or inventing to solve problems, and some portraits. So portraits of people who are dead. You can guess who they are here because you have their pictures. There will be different pictures. And also on the screen will be screened some films that have been made on purpose on living mathematicians, as many men as women. So we will have 4 men, 4 women. Now we have the Grand Gallery, which will speak to the public about more the applications of mathematics, the interactions with the other scientific fields, physics, because it's in the history of the Institut, but also biology or even sociology or things like that. And there are many, I don't remember, it's like 10 exhibits in this grand gallery. And they are divided in 3, so 10 is not a multiple of 3, sorry, so it's differently. Anyway, so spectra and waves, chance and data, and crowds and fluids, with a mixture, a mix of hands-on, interactive exhibits and panels. And okay, so okay, it's late, so I cannot give you the details. I encourage you to come next year and just experiment by yourself what is in this. You, if you were here on Wednesday, you had the talk by Adrien, who explained what is holomath. It's a really innovative experiment in mixed reality. And it will be in a dedicated room. And finally, there is this garden, which is not big. We were in central Paris. Square meter is really expensive, including for ground. But it will be a nice place to meet and to have researchers and the public exchanging together. And there will be hopefully a monumental Rulpidon, so the sculpture by Elise Lacoste. If you remember Cyrielle's talk, she said that you can still make a donation to have this made. So Rulpidon you can have a pun in French also, like on this. And this one, the symbol which I showed at the beginning is in bronze, and this one is in, okay, I forgot the name. Acier, what is it already in English? Yeah, okay. Steel, yes, sorry. Well, okay. My English is, I don't know where, but not here. Okay, so that is the garden. And that's it. So I encourage you to come next year. If you want to contact us in the meanwhile, you have here all the coordinates, so the email addresses and even the mobile phone numbers of Elodie, of Adrien, of Brigitte Jana, who is, okay, she's the head of the IHP and the Endowment Fund, and Cyrielle, whom you heard earlier this afternoon. And that's it. So thank you again for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. I did enjoy. I'm really sorry I missed the first day, but I think we had a good idea to have this joint event with Andreas and Sylvie. So I thank you all, the organizers, the staff of IHP, all the participants, and see you next time. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Sylvie? What's the current opening date?
Okay. You want me to promise anything? No, I can't promise anything. Hopefully spring.
Spring.
Hopefully spring.
Wow.
No? Oh, sorry. Well, how much it costs? I want numbers. Thank you.
How much cost the whole project? Sorry? No, the entrance. No. What? The project is now it has raised to 16,000 million euros, without the value of the building, which is said to be like 9 million euros. What did I say? 60? No, 60. Okay, I'm sorry. 16 million. Sorry. No, figures are always confusing in another language. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, here.
Many of the mock-ups in the museum had interesting patterns on the floor. Do those have a mathematical significance, or are they just random artwork?
Thank you for this question. In fact, it was kind of an argument with the scenographer because he had this idea of making this pavement, tiling if you want, but there is nothing mathematics in it. It's just squares and triangles inspired by the artist, who is the scenographer is an artist. So, but I guess we are going to be asked this question all the time. And this is what I said at once, but...
You just find an equation afterwards. Huh? You will find one. We'll find one, so you have an explanation. Another question? Okay, then we say thank you, Sylvie,
thank you
for everything.